Hey kiddos, it's your dad here. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how locking in and becoming obsessed about making money is actually the thing that will prevent you from being able to live your life truly free the way that you want to. So what do I mean by that? Well, when I first got started into entrepreneurship, I was about 19 years old. This was about 11 years ago now. And when I first got started into entrepreneurship, I did what most people do is I started consuming a lot of content, listening to people talking about how you can make your money and become successful. Before, this was more about just hustling. So when I first got started, it was about creating mobile applications. So I created a mobile app. I paid developers, and I tried becoming a successful mobile app founder. This was the time when Airbnb was becoming more popular, and all of these new phone apps were becoming more popular. So I thought, because I was listening to all these podcasts, that I had to do this. So I locked in. I put all my savings into hiring a development team, and locked in. But I didn't know how to be able to grow a app. I didn't know marketing. I didn't know what it would actually take. I would listen to these people talk about their stories, and I thought, okay, if I just lock in and I just do the work, that I'll be successful like these other people. But I didn't know what I didn't know, and that just ended up costing me a lot of time. I spent close to a year developing this app, and I spent a lot of money. I spent over $20,000 to develop this app, and I was just left with broken code, a lot of frustrations, and lessons, what I can say are lessons learned. And then after this experience, I just decided to stay and work my job, and I was going to settle down because I got burned by trying to lock in, and I didn't see the results that I was looking for. So I just said, okay, I'm going to go and use my job, use the skills that I'm learning in the military to get a degree. So I got my associate's degree in IT, and I said, well, instead of paying developers, I'm going to learn how to develop. So I wanted to learn how to program. So I started learning how to program. I started learning the basics of programming, got my degree in programming, decided to take a job while I was in the Coast Guard doing IT and programming. But from there, an opportunity came up where I was going to be getting into cybersecurity. So I said, okay, instead of doing programming, because I was doing programming, when I did the programming, I realized, I don't really like programming, so I'm not going to do it. And I changed my course, and I decided to pursue cybersecurity in the Coast Guard. And when I decided to do that, when I got the job doing cybersecurity, I realized that I didn't necessarily enjoy cybersecurity. I enjoyed the freedom that came with that specific type of job that I was doing. I enjoyed having my free time to create videos on YouTube. I enjoyed my free time to be able to try different side hustles. I started getting into real estate and got into Airbnb and started a podcast around that. And when I started that podcast, I realized I really enjoy talking to other people, creating content, and sharing things that interest me with other people to the world. And that's when I quote unquote, locked in. And that was, I started on that path when I was about 25 years old, 24, 25 years old. So a few years later. And I locked in for about 3 years. It wasn't, from 25 until around 27 years old. So around 24 to 27. I was working and building this business, and I became obsessed with trying to grow this Airbnb business with an education business, we started a property management business, an investment firm, and I did all of these things for all of these years, and was able to learn these skills that I didn't learn when I tried, locking in before. But the difference from then versus the second time when I was really growing it was, one, I was really interested, not necessarily in the business itself in Airbnb, but I was interested, and I discovered what I was really interested was in marketing and growing the team and the automations and the whole process of growing a business online. But that wasn't the thing that actually gave me the freedom that I was looking for. The thing that gave me the freedom that I was looking for was just making some well-timed decisions that weren't even really conscious. They were unconscious decisions that I made that I just felt were the best decisions at that time. And the same could be said even for developing this app. And that's why I said that locking in really isn't going to be the thing that sets you free, and why it's a trap. Because the things that actually gave me what I was looking for at the end I wasn't even looking for this thing at the end. It just ended up happening. So being able to achieve an early retirement didn't happen because I locked in and said, I'm going to achieve early retirement, so I'm going to do this thing, and it's going to take me from point A to point B. What ended up happening is a bunch of series of different lock-in times where I was just serious about growing this thing, and a few well-chosen decisions along the way that allowed me to very quickly, like in an instant, achieve the thing that I wanted, which was an early retirement. So, what are those things? I have another video where I talk about how I retired by 27. But to kind of summarize that video, it was being able to purchase some, joining the military when I was 18, a lot of benefits, purchasing some real estate when I was in the military, using the VA loan, and renovating the basement, turning it into an Airbnb. So not just buying a piece of property, but buying a piece of property with the goal of it covering our mortgage and also making us money. Our intention when we purchased this place was that we wanted to make money by renting out the basement on Airbnb. And we didn't even really know how much we could be making off of that property until we ran the numbers and saw, hey, this is the potential that we could make. So we got lucky. We got lucky with purchasing that property. And then the third thing was because I started this business, this Airbnb business, I learned skills that I needed to be able to try different things: ebooks, affiliate marketing, online sales, YouTube, all of these different skills that were able to bring me in a little bit of money from here, from there, jumping on opportunities when I saw them, trying new things, Amazon affiliate, TikTok shop, YouTube affiliate marketing, software affiliate marketing, all of these little things. And then the fourth was knowing how to manage my finances, keeping low debt, keeping a low cost of living lifestyle, and moving to another country. Your mom is from Colombia, so naturally we were just like, hey, Colombia's cheap, why don't we try living in Colombia? And when we did that, our cost of living significantly dropped. Our income was high enough that we were able to achieve financial independence, financial freedom, because of these things. But it wasn't because I locked in and said, I'm going to achieve financial freedom, or I'm going to leave my job because I'm locked in. That's not how it worked. And when I was doing those things, I felt if I kept on saying I'm not going to do this thing. Another example that I like to give is I've got some friends who talk about how they're not ready to have kids. I wasn't ready to have you guys when Rain first got here. I was not prepared to have you when we did. I was saying I'm gonna wait until I'm in my mid 30s. That's what I wanted because I wanted more time to be able to lock in so I could make more. But life doesn't necessarily work when by how we plan. You know, it's it's not when necessarily you're ready. It's when God, the universe, whoever's when your life is ready in that time, that's when you are given what you need. And having you was when I needed to at 29 years old. um, 28 years old, technically. So if I said that I was only going to live my life locked in so I could achieve a specific thing in my life, then I never would have gotten to where I actually wanted to be. Because when you do lock in, you gain the things that you need to at that time, but the thing that you're actually working towards typically doesn't end up coming true. What you learn is a new direction in your life and of where it has the ability, the potential to go. And like I was going back, I kind of digressed with my friends. They said, I don't want to have kids until I achieve over 100,000 a month or 1 million a month. Mr. Beast says, I don't want to have kids until, I don't want to have kids because he's locked in and it would slow him down. But even then, like Mr. Beast will also change. Mr. Beast also changed from, what I heard was that he was willing to have kids because other successful people had kids. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna have kids because other successful people had kids. So they must be doing something right. And then it also changed eventually to where he said, I'm gonna have kids because maybe having kids makes you more productive. So it's never about truly being free. The goalpost is always kind of pushed back or it's slightly changed. But you're still locked in. But locking in is also keeping you from being able to live your life. Because I never, I'm so glad that I didn't say I'm gonna wait until I'm, in my mid 30s and I'm just gonna lock in until then and grow these businesses. Because one, I wouldn't have had you when we should have and when that felt right. And second is I honestly felt like I started to truly live when I had you, Rain, because it forced me to reflect on why I was living my life always locked in instead of just allowing myself to live. So I hope that when you kids get older, that when you feel like you need to lock in and focus, that one, that you don't have an expectation tied to the end of this period, and that goal post doesn't keep moving. Because if it does, well, I know for me, I didn't truly let myself enjoy things in my life because I kept on pushing those back. And the repercussions of that is that I cut off things from my life that would give me life because I felt like I'm not where I need to be yet. And I kept moving the goalposts further and further. Like my friends, for example, the goalpost goes from make my first 1,000 a month, make my first 10,000, make my first 100,000, make my first million a month, make my first XYZ a month, and it will keep on moving if you're always locked in and you don't reflect on what it is that you truly want in the first place, which is to live life on your own terms. Can you live life on your own terms while making an extra 1,000 a month? You can. Can you live life on your own terms when you're not working a 9 to 5 when you're retired? You can. I struggled with that because I kept moving the goalposts even further. So I'm not saying that you can't lock in or that you shouldn't lock in if you want to achieve a specific goal. But it's not just me. It seems to be just a curse of this focused lifestyle that the goalposts will always keep changing. Like, one of my favorite quotes is "What fire dies when you feed it," by David Foster Wallace. What fire dies when you feed it? If there's this fire that you have inside you to focus and lock in, do you expect it to ever die down if you start growing and you start achieving more? It's really hard to temper that, and then for a lot of people, as they see the burn marks from that fire, you have this fire, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and then as soon as it starts shrinking, you start to look at the burn marks where that fire was, and you say, well, I used to be there. I used to achieve, me personally, I used to achieve 100,000 a month. I'm not making 100,000 a month right now, but I know that I can. I know it's possible, and I see my friends around me, and they're making 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month, but I'm only making now, 10,000, 5,000, a few thousand, whatever. Maybe I'm not making anything. And you say, but I know that I can grow more. So you just try to keep feeding it. But what are you giving up? Because your identity is tied to what you've achieved and not necessarily, or what other people have achieved and not necessarily what feels right to you. And that's where locking in can become something that ends up burning you more than allowing you to achieve the thing that you actually want. So, yeah, I hope that as you learn to lock in your life, that you learn that these are for periods, that if you don't achieve the goal, that's okay, because that's also part of the journey. I needed to fail my app startup. I needed to do this Airbnb business. I needed to focus on trying to grow my career in the Coast Guard. I needed to do these things and lock in at those times, because all of those gave me the experiences that I needed to reflect on what was most important to me right now. But if achieving early retirement was the goal, it wasn't necessarily because of those locked in moments. It was just a series of these well-timed decisions and decisions that had a lot of upside opportunity that anybody can do. It wasn't necessarily all on me. The action and decision to move forward with it was on me, but it wasn't because I learned how to make $100,000 a month. It wasn't because I started this particular business. It wasn't because I decided to leave my job and retire early. It was because I had a goal, and that goal felt right, and that goal was aligned with the lifestyle that ultimately I wanted to achieve, which was, more internal. Me wanting to take care of my family, me wanting to spend time with you guys, with your mom, and not always feel like I'm tied to work. How that unfolded was not by design, but the day-to-day actions and the decisions that I made were always pointed in that direction. So I hope that makes sense, and